Good evening and welcome to the first in a series of 47 debates on issues in science. I'm Don Boston, your moderator for today's debate. In 2003, researchers at the National Institute of Health completed one of the most ambitious and profound projects in the history of science. The 13 years of research and meticulous labor yielded the holy grail of genetics, the complete human genome. 24 chromosomes, 25,000 genes, 3 billion base pairs which code for everything that makes us, us, the building blocks of life itself. Armed with this knowledge, humanity now yields medicinal powers Hippocrates could not have dreamed. In just over a decade, we stepped into a new era with limitless possibilities in curative and preventative healthcare. But with great power comes great responsibility. We are still just scratching the surface of the uses and implications of this research and have uncovered no shortage of ethical gray area. At the time of the Human Genome Project, when it started in 1990, the population of the Earth had just surpassed 5 billion. The latest estimates put the population today over 7 billion and still rapidly growing. Geneticists will continue to discover ways to help people live longer, fuller lives, which can be a blessing for humanity, but might it also be the scourge of an overpopulated planet. Here to debate these issues with us today, we have Dr. G.M.O. Radcon, the Chief of Research at the Beaumont Center for Genetic and Mustache Research, and Chancellor Collins of the Institute for Militant Feminist Plant Biology and Ethnobotanical Studies. Welcome to both of you. I'll start with the first question tonight. This will be posed first to you, Chancellor. In light of the population hitting the 7 billion mark, is genetic technology, which can lead to longer lives even for the severely ill, responsible? Is it ethical?
I think for extreme cases, modern technology is optimal for saving lives. But I feel that more research needs to be done about ethnobotany and the way plants have been used for thousands of years in indigenous communities to cure diseases. We don't know very much about their natural remedies, but I think that we should, if we could, adopt some of their methods. We could eliminate the need to pump all of these synthetic chemicals into our bodies and move farther away from what's natural. We're more closely related to plants. Wouldn't it make sense to use plants to solve our ailments as opposed to all these chemicals that just cloud our bodies? There could be a whole industry focused on medicinal plants and medicinal uses for plants.
Fantastic! Same question to you, Dr. Radcon. In light of the population hitting the 7 billion mark, is genetic technology, which can lead to longer lives even for the severely ill, responsible? Is it ethical?
I'd like to start out with the Malthusian catastrophe. That's an idea where human growth would outcompete agriculture, outpace agriculture. Malthus, who had that idea, never thought of genetic engineering. That is our answer, not limiting population growth or not doing all this. With genetic technology, it is ethical. We've altered medicines which have allowed us to save lives, allowed us to live longer, and it's more sufficient use of our resources as far as land and water. Corn for food and for ethanol. Also, when you look at, in many cases, we get multiple ears per leaf, which will allow us to have more food for eating, of course, and ethanol, which we could use in gas tanks as a renewable source instead of using oils. Food has become hardier and more resistant to pesticides, lower temperatures, and herbicides. And those plants have often grown better, which will allow us for better gene extraction to understand how this stuff works and for those proper medicines.
Interesting stuff. Chancellor Collins, would you like a rebuttal?
I would. You know, it's very interesting what he says.
Fantastic. Question 2, I'm going to pose this to you first, Dr. Radcon. Do we have an obligation to use any and all means necessary to cure disease?
I believe yes, we do. As far as genetic engineering and new technologies, I believe that with the upstart of engineering and the upstart of new technologies, we will be able to solve all of the world's crises, all the world's diseases as well. But the only thing we're lacking is the research, which often takes many years and takes time as far as patents go, And as far as getting the research out there, and money's a huge concern. No one ever has enough money for the amount of research we need to do. One good example of the upcoming research has been able to help us limit disease is that the baby in the womb, say it has genetic problems, it has Huntington's disease, for example. We have the ability to terminate the baby inside the womb and use those stem cells for more further research instead of just being able to treat his ailments when he starts to have the disease take over his body. And if our research doesn't work and the population starts to get too much to HIV in Africa, the population start to experience HIV in huge amounts, why we could just destroy that population, destroy everyone who has HIV, then what happens to the HIV? It's gone.
Good point. Chancellor Collins, same question to you. Do we have an obligation to use any and all means at our disposal to cure disease?
I also agree that we have an obligation to people to help lead healthier lives, but with modern technology, in my opinion, it's creating a very toxic environment for ourselves. I think the main answer to this question is prevention and education about these diseases and prevention of these diseases. We may have to change the way that we treat the environment and provide a cleaner, more healthier world. Once again, prevention and education are the most important aspects.
Absolutely. The final question tonight will go to Chancellor Collins first. In light of the ethical issues involved in trying to curb population, are Homo sapiens trapped in an extinction vortex? Essentially, will we be able to stop the ballooning population, or is a massive die-off of the species eventually necessary?
I don't believe there will be a mass extinction. I think that we live in a toxic environment once again, and this leads to a lower fertility rate. The UN has actually projected in the next 40 years that the fertility rate in most countries will be decreasing, which will lead to a leveling off of the world population in general.
Wonderful answer. Same question to you, Dr. Radcon. In light of the ethical issues involved in trying to curb the population, are Homo sapiens trapped in an extinction vortex? Will we be able to stop the ballooning population, or is a massive die-off of the species eventually necessary?
I believe that we could try everything we could try anything. As far as genetics goes, as far as being able to change genetics, yet the global climate change is a natural process, and mass extinction will occur. It happened with the dinosaurs. It happened with 5 times beforehand. This might be the 6th great extinction. It's already starting to occur. When the dinosaurs, a huge die-off gave mammals their rise, became human dominant. With the higher ocean levels and 17 inches projected in 30 years, the planet will do nothing but get hotter. So with that, the next mass extinction is bound to happen. So the real question is, what will take over after humans go extinct?
Well, that's all the time that we have. I would like to thank our debaters this evening. Banks Hall for hosting this debate, and the Evil Conrad Corporation for the video equipment used to film this afternoon's debate. For all of us at Bio 380, I'm Don Boston saying, control the population, use lifestyle condoms. Hasta mañana.